It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Mary Hardin Baylor's head acrobats and tumbling coach, Coach Raffaela Scotto. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you were going to get started in coaching in college acrobats and tumbling?
Yeah, so I actually didn't know that I was going to go into coaching. I coached youth acrobatics and tumbling my senior year of college. And I remember I was just at a point where I didn't know what I wanted to do next graduating. So I was going to do my master's program, but I just knew I wasn't done with the sport, and this opportunity just kind of fell into my lap. And so it was more of a God thing versus like I knew I wanted to coach. It more was just like, well, here's this opportunity, so I'm going to go for it.
What was that experience like for you as a collegiate athlete going to Baylor?
Yeah. I had an awesome experience at Baylor. It definitely wasn't easy, being a student athlete, especially at the Division I level, but met some of my best friends. Some of my favorite memories came from Baylor, and just coming out of that program taught me so many life lessons. So I'm forever grateful for Baylor.
What was that experience like for you getting to put on that uniform for Baylor and representing a program like Baylor?
Yeah, I think actually remember the first time that I saw like Baylor acrobatics and tumbling on a piece of gear that was like my own, and it was just surreal because you work so hard, just throughout high school and middle school to get there, and it was just kind of like, whoa, I'm here, like we're doing this. So it was just a really great experience, and then to be by your best friends and your teammates when competing is just always a lot of fun.
For you as a collegiate athlete, what was that experience like representing a notable program in acrobats and tumbling like Baylor?
Yeah, I think just the culture at Baylor does a really good job of we didn't feel the pressure to um you want to keep winning the national championship, but it's not about like putting the pressure on yourself. It's when you get out there, it's you versus you. And so just being on a team of people that are determined and just gritty. I think there was a lot of times back trying to get back to back to where you really had to just persevere and be gritty. And I think we did that as a team all 4 years. So it was just definitely a great experience.
What were some of your notable accomplishments as an athlete at Baylor?
Some of my accomplishments, I remember we won the national championship 3 times. I think my senior year, I won a couple event finals. I'm not sure how many, and just like pyramid event finals. There were some tosses in there. And then I was all Big 12 academic team for 2 or 3 years.
How was that experience like going to three national championships while at Baylor?
Yeah, it was great. So two of them were actually at Baylor. So being home and experience the national championship is so much fun. And then my senior year, we flew to Oregon for the national championship. So it's a high pressure environment. But again, I think the culture at Baylor is like take the pressure off. We were trained on what to do and just doing your role and not overdoing it and underdoing it. So like the national championship was just a time to let all your hard work pay off. And so yes, there were some nerves, but all in all, it's just a really exciting couple of days, and just the experiences that we had and the memories of just being in the hotel rooms with your teammates, being with the coaches. It was just a lot of fun.
With you competing in two of the national championships at Baylor, what was that experience like competing on your home style at Baylor?
Yeah, so one of the years was the year after COVID. So that was like definitely a smaller national championship. But in that moment, like we were grateful to be hosting a national championship. And um, I just remember there were just so many unknowns going into that year. And so the fact that we were at home being able to host it was really special. And then my freshman year was, oh gosh, it was crazy. There were like the crowds were just filled, and I'm a Texas native. I'm from Houston, so it's like a drivable distance. So my family was able to drive up, see the national championship. And so I had my aunt, my uncle, all my sisters there. So it was definitely special when we would host at Baylor, just because I just knew my family was there watching too.
For you as an athlete, what was that transition like going from being an athlete to getting onto the coaching side?
Yeah, it was definitely a transition. So I took a head coaching job straight out of college. And so I kind of felt like I had to figure a lot out. But coming from Baylor, I feel like I had the best mentors that I possibly could have through my first year. And so just reaching out to all of the past coaches or friends through coaching really helped me like get through my first year of coaching and just it took a lot of time and effort of like understanding the coaching side of the sport. I would say like some of the coaching stuff just felt natural. Being in a practice felt natural. It was more of understanding the technical side of the sport and all the rules and things. And that just took me leaning on mentors and deep diving into our code of points and things like that.
What was that like for you being a young coach and jumping into being a head coach versus going assistant beforehand?
Yeah, so I loved it. My first year had a couple seniors that I was coaching, and they were definitely my age, if not, I think I had two athletes that were older than me. So this is my first year coaching where I'm not the same age as at least one person on the team. So I think, and I remember saying this in my interview process, some people can look at age and being young as like a con, but instead I felt like I was able to look at it as a pro, as in like I was just in these athletes' shoes 6 months ago. And so I could understand where they were coming from. So just setting the standard and understanding like I am your coach and I understand I'm your age, but we're not friends. Like I'm sitting here as your coach, but at the same time, I was in your shoes 6 months ago and I understand what it's like to be a student athlete at a high level and how can we get through this and what are things you're going through and like lean on me because I also just had to go through what you're going through. So I definitely think there were times where I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. But instead, I just used it to empower me and just kind of keep going. And yeah, it was a lot of fun being able to do all of that and being those athletes that now graduate. I feel like now I'm like, okay, we can be friends now. Like once you're no longer my athlete.
Coming to Hardin Baylor, what was that experience like becoming a head coach?
Yeah, it was definitely challenging, but again, UMHB is such a special place, and I was definitely able to not only lean on mentors outside of the university, but there was just a lot of great head coaches that already were at this university that I would pick their brain all the time because I'd be like, what would you do in this situation? What do you guys do for team bonding? So just trying to figure out, especially when I jumped from Division 1 to Division 3, there were a lot of changes. So just picking their brains on kind of how they coach and what their coaching mentality is. And yeah, it's a great place. I was able to really lean on the people that were already here.
As you talked about that, what was that transition like going from being a Division 1 athlete to coaching on a Division 3 level?
Yeah, I think what makes our sport so special is that we compete against all divisions. So whether you're D1 or D3, you're going to see each other, and those meets actually matter. Obviously, down the line, once we get to championship sports status, we'll split up in division. But right now, um, I'm expected to go play a D2 team and beat them. And so mainly it was more of realizing the practice schedule difference, of realizing just there's little rule differences and things like that, but um, learning that just because being D3 doesn't put us back, if anything, it creates a lot of opportunity, and you can still create a Division 1 mindset team as a D3 team.
For you as a head coach, what was that feeling like stepping onto that mat for the first time as a head coach?
It was crazy. So I had my first year, I was playing TLU and they were a first year program. And so I was there with my assistant coach at the time, Kate Fuentes, and she graduated with me. And then across the mat, we were playing TLU, and that head coach was 1 year older than me, graduating from Baylor. And then her assistant coach had just graduated with me and Kate. So we were all like, oh, fresh out of college, all teammates, we were all really close friends in college too. So it was, yes, it could have been super scary and intimidating, but instead I was surrounded with some of my favorite people. So it was just a really fun experience. I remember we hosted them. So yes, there were some stressful points of like getting the meet ready, but all in all, it was just surrounded by so many people. And I remember all of our Baylor friends came down, and it was just really special.
During that first meet, what was that experience like, as you said, getting to go against your Baylor former teammates?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. To this day, I still get to go against her. We'll see each other again this year on the schedule, and so it's it's fun. We're all competitive. I got to go against the Augustana coach is one of my best friends, and we always joke we're like we're such competitive people. Like we want each other to succeed, but we also want to beat the other person, and it's just fun being able to balance like that competitiveness to like friendship, and it's so fun when you're like all serious, then you look over and you just see your friend across the mat and you just start laughing because you're like, this is crazy.
What are some of the things that you've been able to start for the program?
Um, so for this program, we started Division 3 tournament. So that was the year before I got here. It was like an invitational, very last minute thing that was put on. So then when I came into the role, I definitely played a role in just kickstarting this tournament. I didn't start it at all by any means, but I was part of the process of making it from an invitational to like, okay, this is going to be a 3-day tournament where we're going to do event finals and we're going to get all the Division 3 teams out here. And then I ended up hosting the Division 3 tournament my first year. So I guess that's something that kind of was new when I joined, was just being a part of this Division 3 tournament.
What was that feeling like for you stepping onto that mat at your first home meet?
Um, it was nerve-wracking, but as soon as the meet started, I felt fine, if that kind of makes sense. So like the buildup was like, oh gosh, it's happening. And then as soon as compulsory acro started, I was like, okay, it's gonna be fine. The girls know what to do.
What does a typical artistic tumbling look like for meets?
Like the day of a meet.
Mhm.
It's pretty chill. So when you're talking about like a sport, kind of like volleyball or football, you're making game time decisions of, okay, who's going in, who's doing this. And for the most part, that doesn't happen at acro. Everything is preset in. It's in a SV file. We send it in. So all of those game day decisions have been made. It's just up to the athlete to perform and do what they know how to do. And so from a coaching just spot, it's kind of like you're nervous that things are going to go wrong or things won't do as good as you hope, or that they might surprise you and have the best meet of their life. But just game days, I'm not sitting there thinking like, oh, what should we compete? Like everything's been done. So you can kind of sit back and just let the athletes show you all the hard work pay off.
What are some of the different competitions that happen during the acrobats tumbling meet?
So the meet is divided into two halves. The first half of the meet is going to be your compulsory heat, your acro heat, and your pyramid heat. The compulsory is basically all these teams do the exact same skills for acro, toss, pyramid, and tumbling. And then once you break off from the compulsory heat, you're able to add your own start values and your own skills, and it's coach's decision. So that's the first half. The second half starts with the toss event, straight into the tumbling event, and then ends with the team event. So that's our 2 minute and 30-second routine. That's all those skills piled into one. It's really fast paced, but that's what everyone loves to watch, is our team event.
Who are some of the teams that you see during these meets?
So every year it's different, kind of like what I was saying. Being in Texas, we're most likely going to play Baylor, TLU, ETBU, all those schools, more of our local schools. Every year we'll do the Division 3 tournament. And so we're going to see the Division 3 teams there. As the sport grows, maybe not every team is going to qualify for the tournament. Even this year, I don't know numbers wise and things like that, if every Division 3 team's going to get to go, but we'll play all the Division 3 teams. And then it's really fun because we've gotten the opportunity to, last year we traveled to Hawaii to go play Hawaii Pacific. We've done like South Dakota, Augustana. We've gotten to play, we got to play Oregon at the national championship. So it's just seeing a lot of different schools with a lot of different talent. So it's really fun.
What is that experience like for you as a coach, getting to go against some of those big programs like how you said Oregon?
Yeah, so as a coach, we don't look at that any different than any meet. So I think in your mind, you can build it up in your head like, oh my gosh, these are Division 1 programs. They have so many more resources. or they have so many more practice hours and you can let it build up in your head. But in reality, in our sport, Division 3 and division, like we're expected to still play each other. So there's not this massive difference, I feel like, across division in our sport. So it's training your athletes that every time you go out there, we use the motto and we call it us versus us. Like every time we go out there, it doesn't matter who's at the other end of the mat. We're just doing what we know how to do, and then we'll let the officials figure out the score. So not letting those bigger opponents freak us out, but it is a lot of fun. And my favorite meet so far to this day has been competing at Baylor, just being back at my home, being in that arena. It's a lot of fun, and I know our athletes look forward to doing that.
For you as an alma mater of Baylor, what is that experience like going back home and competing against them?
Yeah, it's so special. The Farrell Center is just a really special place. And so getting to bring my athletes there and letting them have that experience, and then also making it a good competition. This past year, we had a really great meet against Baylor. Beat them in a couple of events. We're able to keep the score close. So it was definitely really special.
What have been some of the things that you've been able to accomplish so far as a head coach?
So we won the back-to-back Division 3 tournament. So we won in 2022 and nope, 23 and 24. And then this past year, we became the first Division 3 team to ever qualify for nationals. So we took the number 5 seed and got to play Oregon at the national championship. So that was fun.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've built for the acrobats and tumbling program?
Yeah, I think for the most part, the culture is just keeping it positive, keeping it light, and just I always tell them, like, when you leave college, you're in the real world. So as much as I can help them get prepared for the real world, so we pay attention to things just like being self-disciplined, paying attention to little things, but also my number one team rule is just be a good human. So I get to be surrounded by good humans every single day. And so that just creates for a lot of fun and a lot of positivity versus the otherwise. So I would just say we focus on having a lot of fun, getting serious when you need to get serious, but just being all around good people. And I'm so lucky that I get to be around so many great athletes every day.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes, and what do you look at in those prospective student athletes?
Yeah, so our recruitment process is different than other sports just because we can pull from so many different disciplines. So a lot of the times it's us traveling to practices or different meets, but also we've been able to have high success rate over Instagram, just finding different profiles and then from there bringing them to campus, getting to know them a lot. So I would say it's different than most sports because we get to hit such a wide variety of athletes, but then again, just getting to know them, lots of conversations, lots of film, official visits, all the things. But yeah.
What is that like getting to bring in those, let's say, former cheerleaders or former dance people in and becoming an acrobats and tumbling athlete?
Yeah, so it's fun because everyone's bringing in different assets. So you have a team full of gymnasts, and we had a diver, and we've had a dancer, and we've had a softball player and cheerleader. So everyone's bringing in different skill sets, and then it also just opens up an environment for you to um, learn new skills. So these athletes, especially very high level athletes that might have been training the same skill set from 3 years old to senior year of high school, all of a sudden they're introduced to this new sport where they get to push the limit, learn new sports, learn new skills while still using their same discipline that they've learned their whole year. So it just creates a way to kind of get out of that burnt out feeling because now you're just there's so many more things that you can try to accomplish.
For these prospective student athletes, when on the official visit, what is it like seeing them fall in love with the Mary Hardin Baylor campus and the facility?
It's definitely, I can always tell. I say always pick the school because it feels like home. You never know what's going to happen, and you don't. This is just my experience. You just want to be happy at the school, regardless of the sport. You want to just make sure that it's the right fit for you, location, size, everything like that. And so sometimes when you're on an official visit, you can really just feel an athlete be like, this is my home and this is where I'm going to spend my next 4 years. And it's fun I always try to have my prospective athletes meet athletes that we currently have on the team. And so that's always a lot of fun is just seeing how they interact and how they get along with those athletes too.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing your freshmen put on that Mary Hardin Baylor uniform for the first time?
It's they always get so excited when they finally get their uniforms and when we do our media day. So again, kind of like my experience at Baylor, I think it's just a surreal moment of like all your work is finally kind of paid off and you've made it to collegiate athletics.
What is it like for you getting to see them achieve those first big milestones in their career as freshmen?
Yeah, it's really exciting, especially like it starts all the way from the little things of like just a shoulder stand and it works its way up to elite tumbling passes that they're competing at Division 3 tournaments. So just again, kind of like I was talking about, this is a new skill set for them. And so we celebrate the little wins every single day, even if it's just that they hit what might be an easier acro skill, just celebrating those little wins.
What is it like for you getting to see those seniors put on that uniform for their last time representing Mary Hardin Baylor?
Yeah, so this past year was really special because of our last time that they put the uniform on was at the national championship. And so I think for them it was just full circle, like they've done it, like they just made history. So that was a really special moment.
What is that like for you getting to see them go on into the after acrobats and tumbling, whether it's coaching or going into the professional world?
Yeah, so we just did our ring ceremony on Saturday. And so all of our alumni flew in for that to go get their rings. And so just hearing them talk about life after college and they'll still text me for advice and or just to catch up and stuff. So just seeing them conquer the world and start in the real world it's really fun.
For you as a coach, what is it like seeing them going into coaching or going into professional acrobats and tumbling, whether it's the Olympic stage?
Yeah, so I just got my second set of seniors graduate, and one of them is going on to, she wants to coach, so she's actually working with the Augustana program, and so that's been really fun. Just now she'll even say, she's like, I just see it all different now knowing what you like had kind of gone through. And I was like, yeah. So it's really cool knowing that you make an impact and make them want to continue coaching. And not that it was just me, it's obviously the sport, but just being able to play a little piece of their puzzle and their story has been it's rewarding.
What are some of your future plans for the Mary Hardin Baylor program moving forward?
Yeah, again, just wanting to keep expanding. We're not done. So we've made history, but there's more history to continue to make. So just keep expanding, pushing the bar, pushing the limit, and kind of just seeing where that takes us. This year we've hired a full-time assistant for the first time, and she's actually also from Bailey, coach, not Baylor, from Baylor, Coach Shamwala. So she has outstanding records of just athlete of the year, All-American 4 times. So being able to bring her skill set too, I think will continue to just push the bar.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college acrobats and tumbling?
I would say the biggest thing is give yourself time. It's a huge transition going from high school to college, out even without athletics. So even if you were just going in there to do school, that's a huge transition. And so allow yourself time to grow. Don't compare yourself to others. I always tell my freshmen, comparison is the thief of joy. So if you're sitting there comparing yourself to a senior that's been here for 4 years, all of a sudden you're not going to feel good about the things you're doing. So stop comparing yourself, give yourself time and room to grow, learn new things, and just don't be so hard on yourself. You're here for a reason and know that you were recruited here. You deserve to be here, but also work hard for it. And yeah, you're gonna do great things in college. So it's a college is a great experience.
What advice would you give those college juniors out there transitioning into being seniors and leading the program?
Yeah, I would say don't overdo it. Don't do anything that feels unnatural. I think once you start doing things that don't feel like you don't become the best leader or version of yourself. So doing what feels natural to you, communicating with your coach, seeing what their expectations are for you, and just um, protecting just the integrity of the program and making sure that we're guiding our freshmen through the season.
What advice would you give those seniors looking to go compete after their collegiate career?
Yeah, I would say do about it. Do it. I've had athletes or former teammates that have gone on to compete post acro and they're still killing it. I would say listen to your body, make sure it's the right decision. But if you feel like you're still good to go, I say why not? Why not keep pushing the bar, keep getting acro athletes out there, um, past acrobats and tumbling.
What advice would you give those players out there looking to get into coaching after their playing career?
I would say reach out to your coaches. Communicate with your coaches that coaching is something that you might want to get into because they're going to be able to set you up on the right track. Acrobatics and tumbling, we have a lot of programs in set for coaches. So communicate with your coaches, just kind of reach out to people and see what's out there.
What advice would you give those future head coaches looking to build their own program and build their own legacy?
I think the biggest thing that helped me was leaning on other people and just asking for advice, using the mentor connections and but then trust yourself. Like you're gonna know what to do. So stay true to yourself, but also lean on those other people and ask for advice when you need it. You can never ask too many questions.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the program?
I'm sorry.
Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the program?
So you can find us at Crew Acrotum on Instagram and Twitter. And that's kind of how we stay connected with all of our PSAs, all of our athletes, and just all of the acrobatics and tumbling fans.
Thank you again for your interview and best luck in your future as the head acrobats and tumbling coach at Mary Hardin Baylor.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brand, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach, for your interview and best luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.